Hey guys, welcome to my little paintbrush. I'm Miss Sarah, and today we get to paint one of my favorite scenes in one of my favorite movies. I hope you enjoy this too. It's Lady and the Tramp sharing their bowl of spaghetti. It's a great date night piece, a BFF piece, a party piece. We have done so many events with this one, and it's been a great time every time. I am, of course, going to be painting two canvases at the same time, so there will be moments where you'll need to pause and maybe wait for me. So just know that, and I'm going to try and keep up with you. Also, remember that if by chance you need to take a minute, you can pause the video, you can forward it or go back. That's the beauty of painting with a pre-recorded piece. So take your time, enjoy yourself, enjoy the experience. This is all about having fun and creating those memories while maybe learning something new. So today I'm going to be using a couple of brushes. I have a large flat. I also have what I call a detailer line brush, and I have a medium flat. These are the ones that work great for me for this piece. You use what works for you, okay? I also have a jar or two of water handy and a napkin. And then I laid out all my paint so that I can easily get to it. You can see I have all my colors separated because I'm going to be mixing a lot, and I wanted to make sure I don't contaminate them all at once. So I would suggest you do that. Maybe just take a minute and lay out all your colors, okay? So let's get started. We're gonna warm up our paint muscles by first painting the background. And I'm gonna use my flat, my large flat, to do that first. Put it in some water, shake it out. Our bristles get very stiff sometimes, and our paint needs water. Acrylic paint loves water, it gets very thirsty. So make sure you take a minute to rinse your brush. Those bristles should be nice and damp. And then I'm going to mix my background color, which is a blue. You can decide the shade on that one. First, I take some white and I'm going to mix it with some blue, just a little bit at a time. So I can determine how light or dark I want it. More blue, obviously you're going to get a darker shade. Less blue, a lighter shade. Add more white if you need to. I'm kind of doing a medium shade of blue here, because I wanted the night sky. All right, and let's start at the top. Don't mind my tape here. I've taped down all my canvas so it hopefully stays in place for you. Okay, and we're gonna start at the top and just start filling it in, up and down and around our image. I go pretty quick with the background just because we don't need to spend too much time on it. It isn't the star of the show, right? So I'm just going to quickly fill it in. You will want to reach up and paint the top of your canvas if you like the way that looks. We do at our studio, we love to wrap all the sides, paint them so they look good. Then you won't have to frame it later. It just looks so cute when you put it out on display, because of course you're going to display it, right? We want everyone to see. Okay, so I like to brush around each image here. We'll go over here to the Tramp as well. You'll see I'm not painting all the way up close to my image just yet. I'll show you why in a minute. But I am going to paint pretty close. I'm just not right up next to it. Oops, got a little on my spaghetti. That's okay. We'll get back to that in a minute. Okay. Fill it all in. Just add some water to your paint if you need to. Water's your best friend. It's going to help everything go on a little bit easier and smoother for you. Okay. We do have just a little bit of sky showing between Tramp's ear and his eye here. So I'm going to come up. Let's see. I painted the wrong thing. Just realized that. I thought I was. Like, that doesn't feel right. Okay. Pretend we didn't do that. I'm going to wipe it off as best I can. Happens. Don't follow me if you did that. Don't panic. Wipe it off. Okay. It's right here between the ear. I don't know why I got that confused. So you'll notice I'm using the toe of my brush. The toe is the tippy point of your brush. Okay. So use the tippy point of your brush to paint just in those smaller areas that are harder to get to. Then you don't have to switch your brush. Okay, now let's paint around Lady. Same thing. Trying to keep my brain on 2 canvases here. It's just one big canvas, but you know, I'm trying to make sure I see all the little things that need to be seen. All right, I think I got it. Now I'm going to fix my little mistake here. It's a happy mistake, that's what we call them. They just happen. I don't know if this one's so happy though. All right, I'm going to just paint over this blue so it can start drying for us. So if you followed me, I am so sorry. My apologies. Just grab some white and paint over that really quick. Let it dry if you want to, or don't even worry about it, because when you go back to it later, you'll cover it right up with your gray. Not a big deal. Or your pink. I think that's the inside of your ear almost. Yeah. Okay, so now you can see I have gotten really close to Lady and the Trump's image, but I haven't gotten up next to the image. Okay, and this is why. I'm going to add a glow. So I'm just going to put a little bit of white on the corner of my brush. Okay, and I'm facing that white towards Lady, and I'll do the same with Tramp here. And I'm going to brush around them. This is going to give them that glow that you see. It's not necessary if you don't like it. You don't need to do this, okay? But I love it. I think it draws attention to the image, brightens it up, fills up any negative space there might be. Adds a little bit of detail that wouldn't otherwise be there. So I like to do this. It does take a little bit of practice to help it fade more. I also love to let the, any texture stay on my canvas with my paint. So a lot of times I just leave it for the texture. Okay, I'm going to come around the nose here. Getting closer now. I'm still trying not to paint inside my image so I don't lose it. But the white also makes it easier that way. You don't have to worry so much about it being perfect because it's white. So it's just going to blend in very easily and nicely with the image anyway. And come here just under her chin, around the neck. There we go. Just doing it all the way around, right off the bottom of the canvas. Okay, there you go. All right, and then I like to brush, like I said, I like texture. So I'm going to brush in some of that white just around and let it be. Let's see, we'll put some around the spaghetti noodles and the meatballs and the plate as well. Just follow it right off the canvas. Just like that. Perfect. It does draw that attention though right here to your bowl of spaghetti. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just adding a little more here where I feel like I might want some light. Cute. Already loving it. Okay, we're going to do the same thing over here with Tramp. Same thing. We're just going to follow the image with that white facing Tramp right up close. So you'll see here, we're just going to blend it in. If you finished Lady with me and you're already done, so sorry, just wait one sec. We're going to do Tramp here. You can forward the video if you need to. unless you're painting with your BFF. All right, we're gonna come around right on top of the nose. Again, I'm trying not to paint inside of my image, but if it happens, no, it's okay. Not too big of a deal. We can come back and paint over it later. I just mostly want to blend in the background, make sure I don't have any thick spots showing up. There we go. I like to put a little more light and emphasis on the nose because that's so cute to me, where they kind of come together. There we go. So I do try to kind of make sure that happens. Right where those canvases meet up. Love it. And we'll just come here, just right under. He's so cute. Tramp and his chin here. Okay, right around. Keeping that white facing your image. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? You still have more to do, so this is just the first part. I'm running out of paint. It's drying on me. Happens. But these lights, it'll dry so fast, and I'm trying to keep up with it before my paint dries, and then it doesn't blend for me as well. Sometimes I have to blend it out a couple times when I'm painting in the heat right here. Okay. There we go. Repaint it. Make sure, because when I did Lady, this sat for just a minute and it dried on me. So I have to get it damp again so everything flows. So just keep that in mind. If you feel like it's not working, it might be because your paint is seizing up on you. That happens a lot to me. I have to remember, add water, add more paint. Don't lose my bowl there. All right, we're gonna go over these noodles. A little bit of light on there. Make sure we get all the way through to the canvas so they can meet up. All right, now again, I'm gonna add that white, a little bit of texture here on the background. Make sure it's there. Just so that these meatballs and the noodles don't get lost in all of the background. It draws that attention that we want. Okay, so I'm going to brush these out. Make sure we don't have any thick clumps happening. I think that looks pretty good. I think we're ready. Did I get it all? I think we did, right? Got everything covered. Didn't cover our ear or the head like we thought we would. Actually worked. Okay. I think we have everything good to go. So I'm going to rinse my brush here real quick. We're going to let that background dry. We're going to start filling in the lady and the tramp. So rinse your brush out, make sure it's ready to go. All clean. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna start first with Lady. And Lady here is brown, but she has 3 shades of brown. So you're gonna notice as we paint her, we're going to go from light to dark, okay? Because at the end, we're gonna pull some red into her ear, a lot more red. All right, so here's my colors for Lady. I have them all laid out here. So we're gonna start first with pulling in some white here with a little bit of brown. Start with just a little bit. You can always go back and add more. You do want to mix a lot. So I'm putting in a lot of white because I don't want to try and match the color again. Okay, I'm pulling in quite a bit. Now, for her snout here, you have yellow and you have red as well, okay, on your palette. So what I'm going to do is pull in just a touch of yellow. She has a little bit of yellow there. Just a touch, okay? And then a touch of red. Okay, now we're just gonna look at it, see if it's the shade you like. For me, I feel like it's a little too red, so I'm gonna pull in some more brown. See that? Okay, and you're just gonna mix that until you think, I love that shade for Lady. That's the shade I'm going for. I think I want a little more yellow in there. Give her that beautiful golden shade. Okay, now once you feel like you have the shade you like, we're gonna go ahead and start painting her in. Let's start with the nose. Brush in as much as you can here over the nose. She has a very pretty shade of fur, and I love it. It's like a golden shade. It's got yellow, it has red, kind of a brown tint to it, but you can mix those colors until you find the shade you like. And the fun thing is with your color palette is you have all these options. So you can just kind of play with that. If you want to keep it super simple, you could just do brown and white to start with and leave it at that. And it's still beautiful, and just darken your shade as you go. It's just if you want to add a few things and change it up, get a little bit more specific, then you can mix that yellow and red with it. Some artists love to do that. It's one of their favorite things, to mix colors and just have fun with that. So we like to give you the option. I just added a little white to my brush because I wanted to lighten it up a little more on mine. As you'll notice when you're painting on canvas, that a lot of times the shade looks a little bit different on canvas than it did on your palette. Very normal. Okay, fill this in all the way around. Okay. And then she ends right, let's see, her little face just comes around here and ends right here next to the neck. Okay, then we're going to skip over and do her belly. And the thing is too, once you mix this shade, you're just going to build off of it. So you'll just keep on adding to this shade that you've started with as you go. Okay. All right, perfect. Now we're going to let that sit for just a minute, and we're going to add to this shade. So I'm going to add some more brown now to it. We're going to darken it up. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to switch brushes. I want to use a smaller brush. I'll come back to that one in a minute. If you want to switch with me, you can. I usually like to use the same brush for the whole thing, but this one, I don't want to risk it. It's a little too, there's some small corners. So I'm going to switch to a smaller brush for it. Okay, so now I have my darker shade here. And we're going to start at the top, right under the eyebrow. Just like that. We're just going to brush it in. And I'm using the toe of my brush. And you may find as you're doing this that you want to use a detail brush. And that is perfectly fine too. Go right ahead and use whatever brush is easiest for you. And with this brown, you may need more than one layer. Brown is a very transparent color, meaning you can see right through it. So if you are painting lady here and you think, oh, you know, I'm going to need another layer. I can see right through and all these strokes are driving me crazy. We hear it a lot and that's very normal. Don't even worry about it. You can come back and add another layer. I usually do at least 2 with the brown. Come around the ear. You can see why I switched my brush, right? It's this tiny little area here. All the way down to her collar. And we're going to just fill it in. And I'm going to now come up around the eye. This is very tricky. I try not to pick up your brush as you follow it around there. Just fill that in. Again, you're probably going to need another layer. I'm already going over it a little bit here with another layer. Then we come right down to the bottom. Under the collar, around the ear, and right up next to the belly. So cute. All right, this comes down to a point here if you want. It comes back up, so you can shape that out. Brush it. Make sure you don't have any streaks happening. There we go. Looking so good. Okay. Now, for those of you that are painting Tramp with me right now, okay, I should have shown you first, right? Hopefully you forwarded to this. If I was teaching the class, I would have shown you this, and if we were at the studio. But you're going to paint, when I'm painting the snout, you will paint his snout as well with a light gray. So I'm adding a touch of black and I'm mixing it here with the light gray. Okay, and you're going to want to go pretty light. I'm using a lot of white here, going as light as I can, okay, to paint. Because I'm going to even use even more white because you want it to stand out from the rest of him. Okay, so we're just going to go right here under the nose and fill this in with that light gray. That's it. We're just going to fill it in all the way across. Don't worry too much if it's perfect or not. Remember, we're coming back to it. Filling in underneath the mouth and right down to the front of his neck. Go around the background And each of these are going to come down into a little point, but don't worry if the point isn't perfect right now. You're going to outline it later and fix all that. So you just want to basically get the paint on there. That's your goal right now, in the right area. So I use the toe of my brush to paint to a point, dragging my brush to a point there, and then I fill the rest in. Go as light as you want. The fun thing too is this is a pup, right? So you can have those brush strokes and it just creates fur, which is kind of fun. Come right up under the nose, circle it out. Now I'm just going to brush it through and make sure all of the thick paint is thinned out so it can dry for us and it doesn't cluster in a clump anywhere. Oh, got a little bit on there to a point, and the front. So you can see I haven't made those points just perfect because I know I'm going to come back and I'm going to clean that up. So I'm not too worried. Looks good. I think that is about it on that. Okay, now we're going to go do his eyelid gray. So his eyelid here under the ear is a lighter shade of gray too. Matches. Right across the top, just follow that line. Straight across. Around the ear, down that ear. Okay. Now don't go past that line. That's the white part of his eye. You're just going to come right down here. Okay. Where that line is, you're going to follow that line right up to the ear. Because the rest of that is white for his eyeball. Okay. Making sure to brush it out. Looks good. Let me see, I just want to make sure. Okay, yeah. So this is going to follow around to this line. Just continue that rounded out line to the outside. Come right down here next to his eye. Just let it end right there. Okay? The rest of it we will finish up in a minute. Okay. I think that's it on that. I'm just making sure. Perfect. Now for the rest of him, we're just going to add even more black to this, darken it up another shade. So he's obviously darker on the rest. So the rest of him here is going to be a darker shade of gray. Right off the canvas right here. We got a clump there. Ooh. Round out that shoulder. Need a little more water on my paint. My paint is seizing up on me. Don't know about yours. There we go. So once I'm in this light for a little bit, my paint starts to seize up and it gets thick and it won't flow very well. Hopefully, if you have that problem, you can just add some water. So you're going to see this line here. Okay, I'm going to make sure I don't lose that outline, so I'm going to paint up next to it, but try not to cover it. I want to be able to find it later. So whenever that happens, I get up close, but I try not to completely cover it. Go. And do the other side, and I'll just leave a little bit of an outline there so I can see it. All right, now we're going to get our ear. And again, we just want to make sure it's slightly darker than the eye, so it stands out a little bit. Curve it out just a little there. Bring it back up. Don't want to lose my outline at the top. And then we're going to come up here by the eye. And again, don't want to lose that outline, so I'm going to get it close to my ear. I'm not going to cover it. We're going to go right around that eyebrow, because there's going to be an eyebrow right there, so I don't want to cover that as well. And we'll go right under the eye. Trying to do a nice straight line if possible, but it's not going to be perfect. Okay, now let's go across here and just do right under his eye. Follow that outline. And around the eye. There we go. You might have to slow down a little bit, right? Make sure that we don't get too excited and go too fast. I do that sometimes. I get going and I'm like, ooh, lost it. Okay, we're gonna do close to the nose. He's coming to life. Starting to see him. Okay, let's go up here by this eyebrow. We're going to come right down around the eye. Fill it in. He has kind of a point right here, but we will add an outline to that in a minute. So don't worry too much about getting that just right now. And then let's see here. There's the inside of his ear, so I don't want to go inside that part. It's right here. So this part of the head. Okay. We have the eyebrow coming up. Okay, I see that. Okay. There it is. Didn't want to mess you guys up again, but by getting that wrong. So we have our eyebrow right here. And this is just the top of the head. There it is. Okay. And paint all the way up there. Okay. And then this right here is inside of the ear. So we will fill that in just a minute. Clean that up. Let's do this ear here where it's folded a little bit. Right off the canvas. There we go. Brush it out. Love it. Trying to get up close to that line. There we go. Okay, let's just make sure I have everything completely covered. I think we do. Just like to make sure that we have a good coverage on everything and it's all blended in. Right across top of the nose and the eye. Okay. I think we do. Just gonna fill this in a little bit more. A little more prominent so you don't lose it. We're going to outline in a minute here, but that's one of those areas that gets a little bit lost. So you'll see where we outline him. And you can kind of get an idea of how it's going to come together. So you don't worry too much. A lot of times artists start to panic because they can't see it right about now. And it's normal. That happens a lot. Right about this point, artists say, oh, it's not looking good. You have to be patient because this is when it starts to come together. It's also when you can't see it. I'm just covering up right here where I painted inside. So if you did that too, you can just paint over it really quick. There we go. Looking so good. So good. So let's go finish up Lady's ear. And then we can have some fun with the detail work. But before we do, and you have this gray mixed, okay? We have this gray here. We're going to paint the plate that our spaghetti is on. Same color as Tramp here. It's just a little bit of that black mixed with some white. You're going to paint back and forth. Super simple, nothing too complicated here. Okay, one moment. Okay, we're going to pause. Can you get Drew, May?
He's on his call upstairs.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Apparently we stopped recording. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay, once you finish the plate and the gray is on there, we're going to rinse our brush. Make sure it's all clean because you're going to be finishing up the ear and then we're gonna do our noodles. So let's let that paint dry on the plate. All right, I'm gonna grab my bigger brush for lady's ear. Okay, and we already have our brown mix here that we were using before. So we have that darker shade. I'm now gonna add a little more red to it, okay? Because her ear is kind of a brownish red shade, if you notice. Very rich color, really pretty. So I'm just gonna add a touch more red to it and keep mixing the original colors we had together. So we just continue to build off those colors the whole time. Okay, now that I have my color mix, I like this. This is good. Love it. See how it has a little bit of red in there? Okay, we're just gonna fill in her ear all the way down, right off the canvas. You can wrap the canvas here as well. Brush it out. We don't want any clumps happening on this. Just making sure I have this nice curve of her ear covered. I love it. Come right up and off the canvas up there. Look how nice, so pretty. Awesome. Now once we have this done, we can start going into our detail work. I'm going to show you how to do, let's see, we're going to do a little bit of floating. You can do an outline instead if you prefer. But right here, along the edge where the fur comes together, we're just going to soften it just a little bit. The way you do that, okay, now you can add the fur, the paint that you used for this fur here in the front around her eye and nose. You can put a little bit of that paint on your brush or just have a damp brush. Either way this works. And then I'm going to put a little bit of that dark brown just on the corner. I'm facing it towards the brown, okay? The darker shade. And we're just gonna go right along the edge. And you can see here how it just softens it. Softens that transition. So there's not a harsh line and it just kind of comes together. See that? Okay. I want to make sure we don't have any hard lines. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to do it right here along the belly as well. Just going to soften that edge a little bit. It also takes a lot of pressure off the artist with making sure, you know, that looks a certain way. Don't have to worry so much about that. And it doesn't have to match everything just right. Now I'm just going to go through and make sure. Remember I was saying that you may need a second layer. So I just want you to, this is your opportunity to just kind of go over it, make sure everything looks okay, and you're happy with the shade that you have. You don't have any hard lines or things that are bothering you there. I don't float here under or around the reddish ear that you have going on because that ear is folded over the front. So it's okay if it's not fading into the fur because it's laying right on top. So all I'm going to do is just make sure I have a good layer on mine before I move on. I'd say it looks pretty good. And you soften the edge on that. Okay. Another thing you can do here is the same in the front. So I just rinsed my brush. I'm just going to put a little brown on the corner of it. So you'll notice I'm just putting that brown right there on the corner. And to soften the front, I'm just going to brush a darker shade along the edge. And this is a damp brush. I didn't put any paint on it other than the dark brown on that corner. And this damp brush is just helping it flow and blend into the paint. So you don't have to have the same color on your brush. So you can just put a little bit of that dark brown on the corner and go around that edge. As long as your brush is damp, this will work just great for you. But you can see how it's just softening, right? Softening the front, softening the fur, kind of giving it that texture and also dimension, so your painting doesn't look flat. It's perfect. Love it. Okay, I'm just going to make sure here that everything is the way we want it. I love it already. Looks so good. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more here. Just blending it in. And I think we're good. Lady looks great. Tramp looks great. And I think at this point, we get to start doing our detail work, which is so fun. I love it. This is when they start to come together. Okay, so I'm going to rinse my brush really well. Your plate here of noodles should be dry. So let's start our first layer. We're going to first paint the noodles yellow. So I'm going to add a touch of white to my brush, mix it with my yellow here. And we're just going to paint pretty quickly. This is a meatball right here on top. So all I'm going to do is go straight across there. Feel that edge. Now this needs to be rounded a little more. So I'm just going to come out and round it slightly. If you need to cover some blue like I do, we'll do that in a minute with some white. This is layer number 1. And you'll notice yellow shows everything. You can see right through it. Super transparent color. So all we're going to do is start with the first layer. And we'll build off of it. And we're just painting them yellow. Actually, I'm going to curve this out. You can curve it with me or keep it straight. Whatever you prefer. And that little meatball's going to hide over there. Okay, now let's go ahead and mix some red and yellow together for our meatball. Add a little white to it. Make your meatball color. I add yellow. I may even add a touch of brown. Depends on what shade you want for your meatball here. I'm going to add a touch of brown to mine just to warm it up a little bit. Okay, now that I have it, I'm going to come here and fill it in. We're just doing half circles. Go around. I heard a dog bark. Let's see. And we're going to clean up that edge too. That's why we're doing this now. So don't worry too much about that. Just getting that color in there. Okay. And then we have this one as well. It's going to kind of come right off the edge of that canvas. Wraps around. Just spinning my brush. Getting a nice little meatball there on top. Perfect. Let it dry a minute. We'll add another layer. And rinse my brush. Okay, and while that's drying, let's go work on some of our detail work. First thing we need to do, make sure our eyes are nice and white. I'm going to grab a smaller brush, put some white on it, just some clean white. And go here, and we're just going to make sure it's got a nice layer of white on our eye. I think just in case you may have painted inside the eye a little bit, this is your chance to just clean it up. It happens a lot to me. So I'm going to come over here to Tramp, and you can kind of see how I need to round out his eyeball a little bit more. So I fix that and paint inside the eye. Okay. That's it on that. I'm going to rinse my brush. Now we're going to work on some black. Let's do both of their noses just to get ourselves warmed up. Add a little water to the black if you need to thin it out. It's been sitting a while, so we're just going to fill in just straight black here on these noses, each nose. I'm using a smaller brush. Okay. You can switch brushes if that helps a little bit. Because black does take over really fast. You want to make sure that you start small. Otherwise, before you know it, your nose has grown all the way off the canvas. Had it happen many times. All right, come up and around. Oh, I got too much water on that one. Got a little drip. Fix that, go back down. There we go. Just want to clean it up just a little bit here. I'm going to go back around and make sure. There we go. A nice edge there. If you get a clump like that, it really makes it hard to pull your line up. There we go. Following him around, all the way around there. His nose is much bigger than Lady's, so if you want a bigger brush for this, you could get away with a bigger brush. Brushing out those clumps. Cute. Okay, now we'll go over here to Lady's and we're going to paint her little nose. Come around. She has a little one just coming, popping right there. Try and straighten out that line for her. Curve it on the bottom. Perfect. Fill that in. There's her little nose. Okay. Adding a little water to my paint again. All right, now we're going to go ahead and work on the eyes. Start with Lady. Each eye is going to be black here, the inside. And it's a half circle too, or hers is more of an oval. Tramp has an half circle, so we're going to come all the way around on his. Just curve it out there just underneath if you want to start. With Lady, we're going all the way around here. Trying to give ourselves a nice edge if possible. Circles are really tricky. You have to kind of be patient with yourself. And go nice and slow. Go around that edge. Just remember, you can use a detail brush later and clean anything up. It's better to go small than too big. Okay, we have Lady on there. Let's go over to Tramp here and do his half circle. His cheek is just kind of popping up there. A and his lid comes down. I'm trying to come up without picking up my brush. Black just such a one of those colors that just can take over everything, right? So I have to really go slow. Now with him, I'm going to clean it up with a detail brush along the edges because he has an eyelid that goes straight across. So I'm not too worried about getting all the way up to the edge. Okay, so good. Okay, I'm going to switch now to my detail brush. Adding water to my black, thinning it out a little bit here. Okay, and this is where you can see how you can finish some little spots that maybe you were struggling with before and clean them up. And we're gonna do her eyebrow and her eyelid right here. And this is really the part that brings Lady to life. This is her personality. I love it. Gives her her expression. So we want to make sure we get that eyebrow lifted there. Fill it in. I just use my detail brush to get that point on there. I just want to curve it out towards her eye a little bit. Got to curve this part so it matches up. And this top part kind of comes at a point. Oop. There we go. She is lifting her eyebrow there. Okay, same with her eyelid. Come around. Trying not to pick up my brush, but I'm running out. My paint is really seizing up on me in here. So I'm going to try and come around. You know you have enough water in your paint if you can do this without picking up your brush. It's a good consistency, and that's what you want. You want to be able to try and do that. If I start to run out, that's how I know. A little more water, Sarah. All right. I like to outline first and then fill it in. It gives you that nice clean line. Okay. See if I can wrap that eye around. There we go, a little better. Very nice. Okay, and the same here, where her eye comes around, I just want to clean that edge up for her. We'll get white and clean it up even more, but that helps a lot. Okay. All right, and then right here at the top, we have the eyebrow on the other side popping up, so we'll add that too in just a minute. I just don't want to smear my black. So while that's sitting just a minute, let's go back over here and finish up Tramp. So his eyebrow is going to come right up here. Start over here on the corner. Fill it in. It's going to wrap around. Okay. All right. Before I do that, I just want to make sure this part is finished so we can do the eyebrow. So outline just the top of his head. Okay, and then we can kind of finish off his eyebrow here. You can see it wraps around, kind of finishes off here, comes around the eyelid. You're going to finish that first. Bring it around. And then we can have some fun with this eyebrow. So now that we have that finished, you can build off of it. We can say, okay, we got it coming up right here. And we have it coming up right here on this side. Just like that. Now that other little gray spot right there that's showing, I'm just gonna fill it in. Right here, more gray. There we go. Same with here. I just like to give myself room. Always go back and change things. Okay, all right, so now that that's done, let's finish our eyelid. So you can see here, I did not finish right here because I'm gonna outline it right along the bottom. We're going to outline it right along the top too. Now the top comes out just slightly on each end to give him a little bit of personality there. We're going to make sure it curves nicely around. Filling in both spaces on each side. Finish that off. And this corner here, let's finish it off too. Curve it around. And then let's give him some creases in his eyelid. So right here on the corner, let's curve it a little bit. Same here. There it is. Now you can kind of see his personality coming through. Love it. Let's see if Lady's pretty dry over here. She's about there. Then you can add your lashes and everything to her, which is so fun. But I don't think she's quite dry yet, so let's finish up a little more here with Tramp. And I'm noticing when you did the meat pulls, you're supposed to add a little pink to Tramp's ear. So to make that pink, get some white and red and mix it together. Get a little more there. And you're going to get a fun pink shade. See that? And you can change this to however bright you want. It can be a light pink, it can be a hot pink, a dark pink, whatever you're feeling for inside his ear. But right up here, you're going to see where his ear just comes down and meets the top of his head. Whoop. Don't want to paint over it. I should have done this before I painted it black. Okay. But I'm just going to fill in his ear coming straight up at an angle there towards the canvas. There we go. Fill that in. That helps, right? Have that done. Okay. Lady is almost ready. While you're waiting for Lady to be finished here with her eyebrow, you can paint her collar. So while Tramp's ear is being painted, you can fill in her little collar here with some blue. Any shade you want. I'm doing kind of a darker shade. Almost matches the sky. But you can honestly do any color or shade you feel like with her color. Brush it out so we don't have any thick paint here. There it is. I'm just going to check, make sure his ear is completely covered because we did get a little gray right there. So we want to cover it. I don't think I put an outline for my ear up here, so it kind of threw me off a little bit. Hopefully you have yours. If you're using our paint kit, you should. So that helps. Hopefully. Okay. All right. I think she's about there. So now what we're going to start doing is our outlining to pull everything together. So I'm just going to thin out my black, make sure it's nice and thin. Okay. I'm going to come up here and just finish the top of her other eye. So it's a little bit of her eyebrow just peeking through. Just like that. You can have it be as big as you want, however much you think should be showing. Just her little eyebrow. And then you can add these fun lashes. I love the lashes. It brings her like so much personality. The beautiful lady here. Okay, so when I do my lashes, I'm just imagining a big smile. So I'm going to come here and start just on the corner. Press and curve a smile. So there's one. And I do them different lengths. So my next one's going to come up quite a bit further. And I'm noticing this eyebrow here can kind of come a little further down if you want, just to kind of, there we go. I like that better. Okay, so my next one is going to be close to this first one, but it's higher. So it's going to come up and curve. See how pretty? Just press and then lighten your press a little bit. And this last one, a little bit shorter, but it comes up too and curves. There you go. And there's her pretty lashes. Now she has some coming here just in the front where her eye on the other side is showing through underneath her eyebrow that you just painted. So we're going to start a little lower, but again, you're creating a smile. And then we'll do another one, and this one goes a little bit higher. And then one more. And there you have it. There's her beautiful lashes. No wonder Tramp is just smitten with her. Okay, we're gonna go and finish up Tramp now. Let's outline first. That's why I left a little bit of space so I can see where I'm going to outline his ear. Didn't want to lose it. Okay, and then we'll outline his ear so you can see it better. As you can see, I do use my wrist on the canvas a lot, so I want to make sure that it's dry for me. It gives me a little bit more balance as I'm painting. I also, a lot of times, hold my canvas. I obviously can't right now, but it is something I like to do. Gives me a little more control over my lines. Okay, come right down here. And now you can see why I didn't worry too much about my edges, because you're going to clean them all up right now. I like to work from the top to bottom. So like I said, I'm not smearing my paint. Otherwise, as I'm coming around, I tend to smear things. So just like that. There's a little spot on the nose and I smeared it. Just like that. Happens. All right. So I'll have to go back and just clean that up later. It's okay. And just fix the nose here. Make sure it's all the way we want it. I wanted it to curve a little more there. So I come back around and just clean up those edges. Point it a little more for me. I do have a little lump right there, and so not wanting to smooth out for me. It's okay. There we go. Sometimes it just gets a little bigger. It's okay. Just to get my edge. We're flexible, right? There we go. Smooth it out. Okay. We're going to finish up his little hairs here, his fur coming down. Making sure I add more water to my black. It's quickly drying up on me. Now you don't have to outline everything. You can kind of decide what you want to outline. I tend to outline if I want to clean up lines or add a shadow or draw attention to something. But not everybody likes to outline, so you can kind of decide what you prefer. Fun thing with Tramp is he's already gray, so the outline does add some shadow to him without you having to do too much. And now we're going to come down here. Just let that fade out a little bit, and then I'm coming in slightly on that shoulder. There we go. Now I am going to outline more of the gray fur here, just because it gets lost in the background if I don't. So I did outline more of the gray. Like that. And we'll curve it around. I just think he's so fun. He's so smitten by her. All right. Love that. He's so cute. All right. Now we're going to give him just a minute and we'll come to his smile. But I want to come over here and just finish up Lady's outlining a little bit. She has some coming up here. Nose, and we're going to do a little in the mouth here. Right over the front. Okay, and a little just underneath the chin. I want it to fade a little more here, so I'm just gonna grab it and pull slightly. Let that fade out. And come right over the color. And let it fade out again right there. Fade out. Okay. And just at the top of her head here. Let's see. We'll do a little bit at the ear. So you can see that it's laying over and not under. See that? Laying over the front of her. There we go. Let's just make sure. I think she has a little smile. We're going to add. I'm going to outline a little bit of her collar. Cute. Let's see. I think that's it on that. Now the bowl, I'm just going to outline some of it. We're going to clean it up as we do the noodles. But I'm going to outline each edge here. And we'll come back, but this way you can kind of see where we're going with it. And then we'll outline the bottom as we finish. All right. Now for Tramp Smile, I don't want to smear the paint here, but you're going to start right at the corner. And we're just going to we're going to connect his fur here. Okay. So you're going to bring the smile from about this corner and you're going to come down to where the fur starts to drop. Okay. So it matches this corner. So these triangles kind of match up and it comes up and then it matches up with this one. See that? So you're just going to follow the curve of each shape. So we're going to start here in this corner. I'm just going to bring a little bit of a smile there. Stop. And then we're going to match up with the point. Just like that. Okay. So there's his little smile. Perfect. I have a little bit of black there. I'm just going to fill it in. All right. And now with Lady, let's give Lady a little smile too. Hers is just with brown. Any brown you like. I'm just going to get my detail brush. I rinsed it. I'm just going to give her a smile. It's going to come kind of to a point. So it's going to start here, just underneath the nose. Here, and then up a little bit. Okay, just a little bit of a smile. So we're going to come down. And there you have it. Just very, very simple, very hidden a little bit, not super noticeable, just keeping it very, very light. Okay. There she is, such a cute personality. We're going to let that be. Let's go finish our noodles because you're about done. We're just going to do the noodles and the highlights. And you're finished. So the first thing we're going to do is connect a noodle between the two of them. Okay, so I have my detail brush. I'm mixing it with my yellow. Okay, now here's my two canvases together. This is where you'll probably, if you're painting with someone, you're going to want to bring your canvases together, line them up so you can kind of see where this noodle is going to connect. I'm going to take, let's see. I'm going to come about right here and you're just going to create a smile between them. Okay, so it's going to come here. You can grab a pencil if you want and you can just outline and trace it for yourself so you can see it. I'm just going to create a little bit of a smile and then line up your canvases and bring them together. There you have it. There's your noodle. Let that dry. You're going to add some white to it in a minute and lighten it up, and a little bit of red to get some spaghetti sauce on it. I'm rinsing out my small detail brush. We're going to come over here and just finish up these noodles real quick. Make sure we have a good layer on there. Okay. All right, now to do our noodles and add some separation, I'm going to put a little bit of red on the corner of my brush. You can outline this too, or you can float it with me. But I'm just going to add that red to my brush and go around just like that. Separate that one. Now let's separate the top one. Come around the top. All I'm doing is floating that outside edge. All right, and then we have one more here. Floating the outside of it. I need a little more red on that. It's running out. There we go. This is going to be your base. It's going to how you're going to finish all of it. Going to build off of your shape here. Okay. If you need to add another layer to your meatballs, let's do that now. Make sure they're nice and covered with your red. Give myself a nice half circle there. We want a round meatball. There it is. Okay. Now let's grab our detail brush. Same red that we've been using. You might want to mix a little yellow in there. Okay. Now we're just going to outline our noodles. So I'm going to come here, starting on this side with Tramp. I'm going to outline the top that you just floated. See, this is why you don't need to float this. If you just want to outline it, go for it. Outline it. Then we're going to just create some noodles. I've got a line coming up like this here. Just coming away from my meatball. I try not to make them all the same. Try and kind of add a little bit of different sizes and shapes here, so they're not an exact pattern. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So we have 4 here in the middle. I'm going to do those first. 1, 2, and I'm curving them slightly. 3, 4. Just curve them slightly, and then we'll connect a couple between, go in the opposite direction. We have some here. Opposite direction, curving around. And then I have 2 just underneath here, curving around. And there you go, on the side of lady. You can add more if you want. I just did the 2. Perfect. Looks awesome. And there we have it. Now let's finish up our noodle between them. You're just going to add a little bit of red underneath. I'm going to set this down so I can hold my canvases together for you. A little bit of red just along the bottom. Just like, whoop, not too much. Just helps it stand out a little more so it doesn't get lost in the background. Make sure our yellow is nice and bright. I'm going to go right over the top of it one more time. Because with this background, it can get lost in it. There we go. So good. Okay, let's start adding our highlights now. And then you're done. The very last thing we do, besides, let's just clean up our bowl, right? right there where the meatballs were, you'll want to add your black outline. Make sure it's covered there. I just put a little more gray on my brush to do that. Brush it in. I'm going to put a little bit of white on the corner of my brush there, face it up to add a little bit of a highlight at the top of the plate. Go meet up your canvases together or do it separate, whatever works. There we go. Just floating a little white across the two. Now let's take some black. You're just going to finish your outline. We just need to make sure our meatballs are outlined a little bit. One there, just to give it a little bit of a shadow and also help them stand out. Okay, now with our plate here, just go across the top, a little bit of black there. You can go all the way across if you want, or let it fade out. Clean up that edge. Love it. Okay. I don't think you need to, but if you want to, you can add a little bit of a shadow under the noodles going across. Helps it stand out slightly. Now we're doing all of our highlighting. So you can use a line brush for this, or you can float it like I've been doing with my flat brush. So I'm going to show you how I float it. I rinse my brush really good. Make sure it's clean. See if we can find some clean white because we've had a lot of fun mixing. I'm just going to put a little white on the corner of my brush. Okay, and let's start with the noses, and that way you can really see when I lay it flat like this. You can see how it just kind of blends it, right? Just like that. And you can add as much of a highlight as you want, or as little. Okay, but as you brush it, it fades a little bit, but it draws a lot of attention to your nose on Tramp. Same with Lady here. So I just want to make sure my brush is clean. Put a little bit of white on the corner. With hers, I'm just going to float a little there. The nice thing with the nose is if you feel like it's too big, you can put a little bit of black on your brush and go over it. See that? Fades it out a little bit. So there's lots of options. All right. Okay, so now that our noses are done, let's go ahead and float the rest of Lady and the Tramp here. So I put a little white on there. I'm just going to go around the edges where I want some light. You might want to just draw attention to some things. I just had too much water on my brush and got a drip on Lady. I didn't notice I got white in her, or black in her eye over here. Don't know when I did that. But I'm going to fix it, okay? And then let's add the light to her eye. Just coming in here now that her eye is dry. Just gonna cover up that black. I had no idea I had that on there. Oops. Okay. Go back to highlighting here. We have a little bit at the top of the head here. And we're going to have some coming down her ear. Just helps it pop a little bit. There we go. We'll add some to the bottom of her mouth here. And the front of her. And you can add as much light as you want to this. So you can have less than me or more. Just depends on what you like. Okay, now that that's done, let's go over and finish up Tramp. So we're going to add a little bit of light here to his ears. It really just helps curve them out. Bring some light there. A little more here. And we'll add some right along here to the front of him. And his shoulder. Okay. Rinse my brush a little bit because my white is starting to fill the whole thing and I want to keep it on the corner. We're doing this. There we go. Let's see where else. We want to put some right on the front here. Right across the top of his nose, where the light might be hitting him. Let's see, we'll put some along the top of his mouth. Draw a little attention to his smile. Okay. Around his eye. Across the top of his eyelid there. I think that's about it. Yep, love it. Do a little more. I like to add light whenever I can to a painting. There we go. Okay, let's go finish up our meatballs. And the top of our plate here, make sure we have some light there. Curve out the meatballs there, one there, and one on this side. Love it. Make sure I've got it all. I think I do. Did I miss anything? All right. Last thing before we sign our name is we got to make sure that Tramp has the light reflection in his eye. Lady does. We just got to make sure Tramp does too. So if I can find any clean white left, challenge here. Okay, right here. Just do a half oval like that. Fill it in. This is his little reflection just in his eye. Because he just has stars in his eyes right now. For Lady. He just feels like the luckiest pup. Let's see, there we go. So cute. All right, you guys. I love it so much. I hope you do too. This is such a fun one to paint. So many fun little details and things you could keep adding. to this painting if you wanted to, but I'm gonna have to call it quits because I could just keep going. I'm going to find a spot to sign my name. I encourage you to do the same. Sign your name, sign the date. You worked hard on this and you should be so proud of yourselves, even if it's just your initials. Give yourself a signature, own your work. There we go. And give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this painting. We hope to see you next time. Hashtag my little paintbrush so we can see your work too. Bye-bye.